What is up, everybody? Jeremy Eisenfire here, and welcome back to the channel. And here we are, folks. The Season 2 finale of From is officially here, and it throws a ton of information at us. We get some answers to some lingering questions, and of course, some big mysteries set up for Season 3 and beyond. Everyone's favorite bartender returns and gives Jade the courage that he needs to enter the caves and look for answers. Boyd does everything in his power to stop the melody. Reggie has a full-blown psychotic break, and Tabitha finds a way out of Fromville. And the episode starts off, we see the townsfolk are pretty much preparing for the end. They are assuming the worst is about to happen, and it seems the death of Paula and what happened to Julie, Randall, and Mari has really shook the town to its core. And we see Boyd wants to go and talk to Sarah. It seems like Boyd is hoping that Sarah's connection with this place will help them provide answers. So he takes her to the ruined structure where he first encountered Martin and where he first contracted the worms. And it's revealed here when Sarah gets some sort of message from some type of entity that apparently the worms were merely a vessel for whatever dark entity is responsible for all of the horror that has ensued ever since Boyd came back with the worms. And we hear Sarah say that the entity is laughing at Boyd, laughing at him for bringing the worms back to the town, which allowed all of this to happen in the first place. We hear Sarah say that the entity wants everyone to suffer. It doesn't just want them dead, it wants them to actually suffer first, and that it was very excited when it touched Kenny's arm. And I do have a feeling that is a hint as to what this entity's ultimate goal is, which could be trying to find a physical form in this world. We have seen that the entity can affect people in their dreams, but it seems like it is trying to get a foothold in the real world now. And who knows, maybe that's why it needed Randall, Julie, and Mari in that tower. We saw Sarah say that once Randall, Julie, and Mari are dead, that it is too late at that point. I get the feeling that once those three did die, maybe this thing would have had a chance to manifest in this real world. Or maybe it was going to use one of these three as an actual vessel, seemingly how it used the worms as an actual vessel, first in Martin, then in Boyd. And I suppose this could potentially answer why Martin all of a sudden just knew Abby's name and his whole demeanor just kind of shifted out of nowhere. Martin did say when the music stops, they will return. Almost like whatever entity was possessing Martin took over after the music stopped, because you could really sense a big shift in Martin's demeanor from when he was Martin and to after the music stopped. It almost seems like it was two totally different people that Boyd was talking to, and this could be the reason why. And Boyd is asking Sarah what he can do to stop all of this. How can he save everyone? And Sarah just keeps repeating, "You must stop the music, you must stop the music," which seems to be a reference to the nursery rhyme that we keep hearing that ends with, "unless you stop the melody," indicating that destroying the music box could put an end to all of this. And thanks to the light in the darkness line from Ellis at Ellis and Fatima's wedding, Boyd comes up with a clever idea to find this structure again. As of course, every time we travel back to it, it seems to be just in ruins. It seems to be only certain circumstances will allow people to see the actual structure. So Boyd goes back to Victor's truck where he left the torch that he grabbed from the structure the first time that he was there. But just as Boyd gets to the truck to get the torch, he is confronted by Reggie, who is in the middle of a mental breakdown and, of course, is armed now after we saw him kill Donna's guard. And Reggie is confronting Boyd here. He blames Boyd for all of the horrors. He blames Boyd for losing Paula, of course. He feels like if Boyd never would have came back with these worms, that none of this would have happened, which is true, but nonetheless, Reggie is clearly losing it in this case, and he shoots Boyd in the shoulder with a shotgun, but luckily, Boyd manages to get his gun out in time, and he puts Reggie down. So now Boyd has the torch and he returns back to the ruins, and lo and behold, his theory was right. As soon as he lights the torch, the ruined structure actually appears. And if you remember back to the first time that Boyd was there, as soon as he left that room with the torch in hand, it seemed like as soon as the fire left that room, the place disappeared. So clearly this structure that Martin was first in will only appear if you have fire lit. A light in the darkness, as it were. And inside the structure, he sees where Martin and the other two corpses used to be chained up. He sees Mari, Julie, and Randall, and they are all in some sort of trance-like state, and they seem to be in a lot of pain. And we have heard Sarah say that the entity does want them to suffer. So at this point, Boyd has one thing to do, and that is destroy this music box, and hopefully that will save them. And just as he is about to do that, we see Boyd's wife, Abby, appears again. And clearly, this seems like it is the entity taking Boyd's wife's form in an effort to stop Boyd from smashing that music box. And I do get the feeling that the ultimate goal of this entity is to be manifested in the real world, and I get the feeling that Julie's, Mari's, and Randall's deaths would have helped this entity achieve that goal. So it is doing everything in its power to stop Boyd from smashing this music box. But, of course, Boyd does not succumb to temptation, and he in fact smashes it. Which does ultimately do the trick as we see Julie, Mari, and Randall wake up from their trance-like state after the music box is destroyed. And I love the scene afterwards where Boyd is straight up yelling to the entity that you are not going to break me. It was just a really good triumphant moment for Boyd, able to save these three and kind of stick it to the entity. The episode also follows Jade and his journey into the caves looking for answers. And at first we see Jade in the bar where he is confronted by an old friend of his, Tom, the dead bartender. And Jade is basically racking his brain trying to figure out what this symbol means, as he is hoping it will help in some way save Julie and the others. And Tom, of course, gives Jade a swift kick in the pants and gives him that courage that he needs to go do what he needs to do. And of course, Jade does know what he has to do. He knows he needs to go down into those tunnels. He knows that Tabitha saw that symbol in those tunnels. And he knows that he will find some sort of answer if he does go down there. It was just working up the courage to do so, and Tom provides him with that courage. So Jade makes his way to the cave, and I love how he is still whipping around on that same bike that he stole from that Colony House member in Season 1. And Jade makes his way down into the caves, and he makes his way to this open chamber that almost looks like it serves as some sort of cell. We saw Tabitha and Victor came across the children for the very first time in the season finale, where she saw one of them behind one of those cages down in these caves. So it looks like this is where the children were held at one point in time. And then we see the altars appear. Jade is all of a sudden surrounded by 7 different stone-like altars, each of which has a child on them. And they are the same children that Tabitha was seeing in her visions. But what exactly happened to these children? Were they some sort of sacrificial ritual going on here? Were they part of some sort of experiment? Who knows? But as Jade looks up, he sees a massive version of the same symbol that has been plaguing him, and it almost looks like it is in the form of a bunch of roots growing in the form of the symbol. And as interesting as this scene was, and I definitely look forward to breaking it down further, it didn't provide a whole lot of answers narrative-wise. We are pretty much in the same spot that we left off at the beginning. We don't really know what happened to the children, and we don't really know what was going on down in these caves. Were they part of some sort of ritual, some sort of experiment, or was something else going on? We just don't know. But I imagine they will probably expand upon this more in Season 3. And of course, we have Tabitha and Victor's journey. And in the beginning of the episode, we see Tabitha and Jim watching over Julie, and Tabitha is desperate to do whatever she can to try and save Julie, and she feels like the tower and the children are the answer. And she asks Victor for help, and Victor tells her about the bottle tree. In this episode, we see a special faraway tree that seems to work a little bit different than the rest. All of the other faraway trees that we have seen up until this point seem to transport people to random destinations, but Victor says this bottle tree in particular will take people to the tower, which he learned from his mother. But exactly how did Victor's mother find out that this tree was special? How did she know that this one would specifically take you to the lighthouse? Another question for Season 3. But we do also get a revelation as to what exactly happened to Victor's mother the night of the massacre. It turns out that she never made it to the bottle tree or to the tower even, as Victor found his mother's body right in this clearing right next to the bottle tree. Almost like Victor's mother got really close to getting to the faraway tree, but the monsters got her just before she could make her escape and make it to the tower. So we do get some answers as to what happened to Victor's mother, but Victor's sister's fate still remains a mystery. We know that the sister never returned back to the town after she left that storm cellar, so what exactly happened to Victor's sister? It didn't seem like Victor mentioned anything about finding her body next to her mother's. Could Victor's sister potentially have made it out? Maybe there was not enough time for both of them to escape through the faraway tree. Maybe the monsters were descending on both of them, and Victor's mother sent Victor's sister through the faraway tree, sacrificing herself in the process. Maybe Victor's sister did, in fact, escape through the lighthouse and is back in the real world right now, for all we know. And I do get the feeling that is the case, that Eloise did in fact escape through the lighthouse most likely. And who knows, maybe in Season 3, Tabitha will find Victor's sister out there in the real world, and maybe that will be their storyline going forward, them trying to find a way back to Fromville to rescue everybody else. Because as we see, Tabitha does go through the faraway tree and she finds herself at the tower. And as she's going up the stairs to the tower, we notice some pretty familiar things that we saw in the first vision that Tabitha had of the tower. We see what looks to be the same toy truck that was on the stairs the first time, and we see some playing cards. And in particular, a 4 of hearts and a 7 of clubs, which is just another example of the 4 and 7 that the show keeps throwing at us, which I have a feeling will probably have some meaning going forward. But Tabitha eventually makes it to the top of the tower, where she is confronted by none other than the boy in white. And this is where things get really interesting. The boy in white proceeds to tell Tabitha that he is sorry, that this is the only way, and proceeds to push her out of the top of the lighthouse, seemingly to her death. But lo and behold, the next scene we see Tabitha waking up in the real world in a hospital bed. So clearly there is some sort of portal or door that takes people from Fromville to the real world at this lighthouse. But what exactly does all of this mean, and what is the boy in white's plan? Was the boy in white evil this whole time, or is this part of his plan to potentially rescue everybody else? Could this all be part of the boy in white's plan to send Tabitha back to the real world so she will reunite with Victor's sister? We saw Tabitha did have Victor's lunchbox when she left, which would be extremely identifiable for Victor's sister if she did see it. And maybe that could be Tabitha's storyline going forward. Tabitha and Eloise teaming up to try and rescue everybody else still stuck in Fromville. But there we have it, folks. The Season 2 finale of From is officially here, and it definitely is giving us a ton of stuff to break down and chew on. This is just my first initial thoughts. I will definitely be breaking down this episode a lot more in the future, so make sure you are subscribed and hit that bell for notifications to stay up to date on all of our upcoming content, as we will be covering all things From. And leave your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section. What did you think of the Season 2 finale? Were you satisfied? And what mysteries are you looking forward to in Season 3? And don't forget to come and join us live for our Season 1 rewatch party, where we will be diving into the entirety of Season 1 and see if we can pick up on some things that we may have missed the first go around now that Season 2 is complete. And I want to give a big thank you to everybody out there for watching, subscribing, and becoming members of the channel. It has been a blast talking From with everyone, and I look forward to continuing it. And as always, folks, keep those tinfoil hats on, and I will see you on the next one.